All right. All right, Shabbosai. Let us begin. All right. Good morning. I will say we are Emir Hashem finishing up Os Nun. Emir Hashem this morning. We are picking up on page Kuf Chof in the Bi'urei Hasidus. So remember again, we're speaking about the concept of Bi'ita Achishena. The idea being that Hatzaddik developing that there are two models of Geula, national Geula, personal Geula. The first model being Be'ita, that ultimately, again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, again, on a national level, sends Mashiach in, quote-unquote, the appropriate time, and the appropriate time being that whether we deserve it or not, the salvation comes. Versus Achishena, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu expedites messianic arrival. Reb Tzaddik can apply that on a personal level as well, that sometimes there's Be'ita. I have a tzara, I recognize the tzara, or I require a salvation, and I know that something is lacking, I know that something is missing, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends the geula. Versus Achishena, where before I even realize that something is lacking, before I even realize that there's something that is missing, the Ribbon Shalom has already provided me with the salvational item. So it was a very profound distinction. And also, okay, good. We don't have to repeat everything. So let's continue on page Kuf Chaf. Reb Tzaddik brings a dramatic story. He says, "Ulefi Beir Habeir shenisvar b'shnei ofani hagaas Yeshua bevor mashem super begimara." So over here, he uses an incredible story in the Gemara. We'll say Gemara ba Masra Kuf Lam Gimel Amud Beis. Shirav Ilish ta'a bidvar halacha. Rav Ilish made a mistake in halacha. In other words, Rav Ilish they were discussing actually, in the footnotes, he goes in and he discusses, it's a case of property conveyance that has to do with Yerusha, that has to do with inheritance. The details of the case we don't really have to get into today, but the point is the Gemara is making over here that Rav Ilish was paskin, he was about to he paskined on a particular case, and what happens? He made a mistake. The Rava Hitzilo milifsok bo came lemaisa. Rava was there, and Rava essentially stepped in at the last minute, right before the psak halacha was executed. So Rav Ilish had stated his opinion, and then right before Rav Ilish had the opportunity to actually execute the psak halacha, Rava was there, and Rava said, I think that may be incorrect. So what happens? So v'isbayish mizeh. Rav Ilish was embarrassed. Right? Rav Ilish was embarrassed that he had given over an erroneous psak. So what happens? Ukedi lenachamo kara alav Rava pasuk haniskar la'el ani Hashem bi'ita achishana. So it's actually quite amazing. So the Gemara records that Rava, when he attempted to go ahead and calm or soothe Rav Ilish, he used this lashon, he used this pasuk of bi'ita achishana. He literally said this pasuk. So Reb Tzaddik says, so what does this have to do with anything? I mean, it's a dramatic story, but what does the pasuk have to do with anything? So listen to this. Shazem. So again, I just want to point out, if you want to see, the whole story, the whole Gemara, it's in the footnote in Ayin Ches. But I don't know that we have to go through the whole Gemara. So the Reb Tzaddik writes as follows: Shazem Mashe Ramaz Rava the Rav Ilish b'Mashe Kara Alav pasuk Zeh Bo Ani Hashem Be'ita Achishana Sheratza Lomar Ularamiz Lo Mitoch Nechamazu Gam Tochacha. Kedei lazarzo lasok v'limot haTorah, leisek v'limot haTorah. So this is actually very interesting. So Rava was actually trying to go ahead and give to Rav Ilish both a little bit of nechama as well as musar. He's trying to comfort him, but also give him musar. How so? Because Rava felt that Rav Ilish's mistake was a function of not enough diligence in learning. V'hainu shatzala zumi litos ba'alacha Haisa ba'ofen shall be ita. Dahainu shahaya la'achar shekvar ta'a u'matzava hayadachot ma'od v'nitza rak lifnei shenichshal ba'asiyas dvar isra b'yadayim v'hochicho shelo zacha liyeshua ba'ofen shal achishana. Suppose I say, now listen to this. What Rava was saying to Rav Ilish was like this. Rav Ilish, you made a mistake. And Baruch Hashem, I was there to hear your mistake and to correct your mistake before your psak halacha could be acted upon. So he said to Rav Ilish, your salvation was begeder be'ita. Be'ita, in the time. In other words, here you issued a psak halacha which was wrong, and I was there to correct you and quote unquote to save you, to provide you halachic salvation. But he gave Rav Elish a little bit of mussar. He said, but if you were more diligent, if you were more vigilant in your learning, then ultimately again you would be zocha to the Yeshua of Achishena. What's Achishena, Rabbi in the world of learning? Achishena in the world of learning is that I'll save you before you even make the mistake. Before you make the mistake, before you even utter something that's wrong, I'll go ahead and I'll save you. That was the mussar ultimately that Rava gave to Rav Elish. Rak lifnei shenishla says v'adaim v'ochichu shelo zacha liyeshua ba'ofen shel achishena lemares hatzalaso od lifnei sheyita bepsak halacha. So he said, if you are worthy, ultimately, again, you would have been given the Yeshua of Achishena. You would have been corrected even before you uttered anything erroneous. But obviously, there was something deficient in you, and therefore, again, halacha l'maisa, you are zocha te'ita, which I will say is no small thing either, because at least Rav Elish was corrected before the psak halacha was acted upon. But l'maisa, again, he gave him this Moses. So we'll say this is very interesting, because now it appears that ultimately this is a third model. So we had the first model of national salvation. So when it comes to national salvation, Mashiach, Reb Tzaddik told us there are two models. Bi'ita means there's a certain point by which Mashiach is going to come, whether we deserve it or we don't deserve it. And then there's Achishena. Achishena means I could do things, I could behave in a way which expedites messianic arrival. On a personal level, there are things that I need in life. Right, there's salvation that I need. I also remember again, Hatzaddick's idea of Yeshua, of salvation, is really anything you need in life. I need salvation for marriage. I need salvation for children. I need salvation for parnas. I need salvation for everything. So there are two forms of personal salvation. Kadosh Baruch Hu should give me what I need once I recognize the loss. Once I recognize once I recognize the need, once I find myself in personalistic crisis, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu could answer my tefillah. That's Be'ita or Achishena. He could expedite my personal salvation by giving me what I need even before I need it. Now Reb Tzaddik introduces a third dimension. And the third dimension, I will say, is we all make life mistakes. There are two models where HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps me with my mistakes. Right? Model number one is Be'ita. I make the mistake. I realize I've made the mistake, and ultimately, again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps me to navigate out of it. In the case of Rav Elish, his salvation came in the form of the fact that Rava was right there when he issued the erroneous psak. But ultimately, again, then sometimes there's Achishena, where if I merit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help me prevent my mistakes from ever fully actualizing. So three different models of Be'ita Achishena, one on the national level, two on the personal level. So we'll stop over here for today. We'll finish up this last piece, which I will say is going to be probably the most dramatic piece of the Os. We'll finish it up in Mir Hashem tomorrow. Shkoyach.